The moment you opened your eyes this morning, a war began. It wasn't a war fought with steel or fire, but a silent, invisible struggle for the most valuable territory in existence, the space between your ears. You are the governor of a kingdom, a vast internal empire capable of building skyscrapers out of thin air or burning your entire life to the ground before the sun even sets. Most people live as refugees within their own minds, wandering through the hallways of their potential, frightened of the shadows, waiting for someone, anyone, to tell them where to go. But you must understand this truth, and you must understand it now. Either you take the seat of authority and command your mind, or it will command you. There is no middle ground. There is no neutral territory. The human mind is like a rich, fertile soil, as Napoleon Hill once observed. It does not care what you plant. It will return the harvest of the seed you provide. If you plant the seeds of doubt, hesitation, and the poison of maybe, it will grow a jungle of thorns that will choke the life out of your ambitions. But if you plant the seed of a definite, burning desire, and you water it with the relentless conviction of a man who has burned his boats at the shore, the universe itself will conspire to bring that harvest to fruition. Look at the giants who walked before us. They were not made of different clay. They simply mastered a different frequency of thought. Thomas Edison sat in the dark, surrounded by 10,000 failures. To the average man, those were 10,000 reasons to quit, 10,000 proofs that he was a fool. But Edison's mind was under command. He did not see failures. He saw 10,000 ways that wouldn't work, clearing the path for the one way that would. He was not a victim of his circumstances. He was the architect of his reality. He understood that the brain is a broadcasting station, and if you do not control the dial, you will pick up the static of the world's misery. Think of Henry Ford standing in a shed, mocked by his neighbors, working on an engine that everyone said was impossible. They called him a dreamer, and not in the kind way we use the word today. They called him a madman. But Ford had harnessed the mastermind within himself. He knew that the V8 engine existed the moment he conceived it with definiteness of purpose. The physical assembly was merely a formality. He commanded his mind to focus on the solution until the material world had no choice but to align with his vision. This is the law of the universe. The material follows the mental. You must realize that your mind is a servant, but it is a terrible master. If left to its own devices, it will seek the path of least resistance. It will crave the comfort of the couch, the safety of the status quo, and the hollow validation of the masses. It will whisper to you in the quiet hours of the morning that tomorrow is better, that you've done enough, or that you aren't ready. These are not your thoughts. These are the echoes of a mind that hasn't been disciplined. You must walk into that mental chamber and seize the wheel. You must speak to your subconscious with the authority of a general. Clarity is the beginning of all power. A ship without a rudder is at the mercy of every wave, but a ship with a destination and a captain who refuses to turn back can cut through the fiercest storm. What is your destination? Not a vague wish for more money or success. The universe does not respond to vagueness, it responds to demands. You must define your purpose with such surgical precision that it haunts you. It must be the first thing that greets you when you wake, and the last thing that lingers as you drift into sleep. When you have a definite chief aim, your mind begins to filter the world differently. Opportunities that were invisible yesterday suddenly leap into view. Connections that seemed impossible begin to form. This isn't magic. It is the focused application of a mind under command. But vision alone is a hallucination if it isn't backed by the iron will of belief. Belief is not a feeling. It is a state of mind that you must cultivate through the repetitive injection of your goals into your subconscious. You must become your own greatest propagandist. You must feed your mind the image of your success so vividly, so frequently, and with such emotional intensity that your subconscious cannot tell the difference between where you are and where you are going. This is how the bridge is built. This is how the invisible becomes visible. When your internal world is more real to you than the external world, you have become the master of your fate. The transition from a drifter to a master begins the moment you realize that your environment is nothing more than a reflection of your internal state. If your life is in chaos, look at your habits of thought. If you are stagnant, look at the lack of definiteness in your daily actions. Andrew Carnegie, the man who turned steel into an empire, understood that the secret to wealth was not just in the mills and the fire, but in the coordination of effort and the singleness of purpose. He knew that a mind divided against itself is a kingdom that cannot stand. You cannot claim to want greatness while harboring a mindset of lack. You cannot expect a harvest of abundance if you are constantly watering the weeds of I can't. Every time you allow a negative thought to take root, you are committing an act of treason against your own future. You must stand guard at the portal of your mind. You must be the most ruthless bouncer in the world, refusing entry to any thought that does not serve your ultimate goal. If a thought does not empower you, if it does not fuel your fire, if it does not align with the man or woman you are becoming, then it has no right to occupy your mental space. Consider the resilience of Abraham Lincoln. Here was a man who tasted the bitter cup of defeat more times than most can count. Business failure, nervous breakdowns, the loss of loved ones, and countless political losses. A mind without command would have withered under that weight. A mind without a master would have accepted the title of failure and disappeared into the shadows of history. But Lincoln's mind was anchored to a purpose larger than his own pain. He used his setbacks as whetstones to sharpen his character. He understood that every failure is merely a laboratory for the soul, a place where the weak are filtered out and the strong are tempered for the crown. This tempering requires a level of discipline that the average person finds repulsive. We live in an era of instant gratification, a world that tries to sell you the prize without the process. But the principles of success have not changed since the dawn of time. You cannot bypass the law of compensation. To get more, you must become more. To become more, you must demand more of yourself than anyone else would ever dare to ask. This means winning the battle in the early hours. It means choosing the book over the screen, the work over the comfort and the long-term vision over the short-term thrill. When you command your mind, you stop reacting to the world and start responding to your vision. The world will throw obstacles in your path. It is the nature of the game. People will doubt you, circumstances will change, and plans will fail. But the master of the mind knows that a change in plan is not a change in purpose. When the wind changes, the sailor doesn't change his destination, he adjusts his sails. You must develop a mental elasticity that allows you to pivot without losing your momentum. You must learn to view problems as puzzles waiting to be solved and obstacles as the very stairs you will climb to reach the summit. This is where the concept of the mastermind becomes your greatest weapon. No man or woman achieves greatness in total isolation. You must surround yourself with the energies, the ideas, and the people who force you to level up. But the most important mastermind group is the one you form within yourself, the alliance between your conscious desire and your subconscious power. When these two are in harmony, when they are working toward a single, unified goal, you become an unstoppable force of nature. The friction of doubt disappears, and in its place comes a quiet, steady confidence that the world often mistakes for arrogance. But it isn't arrogance. It is the calm of a captain who knows his ship is sound and his map is true.